So I have given presenter rights to you.
Okay, so I'll now show the
Okay.
screen.
Yeah, I'll start. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Crypto Innovation Webinar Interview Series. I'm your host Shravani. Today we are in part 18 and topic is spellbinding, strengthening the pillars of cryptography for safer digital world. Cryptography provides feasible solution for protection of information during transit, at rest, and while processed. The mathematics of modern cryptography is based on strong theoretical foundations. However, exploitation of design and implementation flaws can offer easier attack solution compared to performing intense mathematical and computational cryptanalysis. There can be many reasons for failure of cryptographic systems: incorrect design algorithms or protocols, faulty random number generators and key management scheme, improper use of crypto libraries by application developers, implementation errors or backdoors, bugs in the crypto hardware, side channel vulnerabilities, insecure security system configuration, social engineering attack on the user, human errors or negligence during its use. Cryptography derives its strength from multiple pillars based on mathematical primitives, software and hardware design practices, computational assumptions, implementation standards, operational aspects, and adaptability of addressing practical requirements. Each of these aspects plays a significant role in ensuring security of overall crypto system. A reliable crypto product is expected to defend against all possible attack over a designated period. Different level of security testing by independent parties help to reconfirm the claims of its safe uses and usage under specific environment and for specific time duration. For some application demand long-term cryptographic security of information. Providing such a security guarantee, particularly due to rapid and unpredictable technological advances, is a major challenge. In this talk, we will see on some of these challenges and suggest feasible solution for ensuring healthy security performance trade-off for different application scenario. To discuss strengthening the pillars of cryptography for a safer digital world, we have with us Dr. S.K. Pal. Dr. Saibal Kumar Pal is working as a senior research scientist and divisional head at Defense Research and Development Organization Scientific Analysis Group, Delhi. He has work experience of more than 25 years in the area of information security and has also served as a chief information security officer of DRDO during the period 2017 to 2019. Dr. Pal completed post-graduation in computer science from University of Allahabad and PhD from University of Delhi in the area of information security. He also holds a PhD in brand management. Dr. Pal has co-authored 4 books on electronic governance, cybersecurity, AI and data science, and has more than 250 research publications in peer-reviewed journals and international conference proceedings. His area of interest are cryptography, cybersecurity, computational intelligence, and information system. He has contributed in a number of significant R&D projects and international collaboration. Dr. Pal is a recipient of Lab Scientist Award in 2010 and DRDO Scientist of the Year Award in 2012. Welcome, Dr. Pal.
Thank you.
To Crypto Innovation Series. And stage is all yours, sir. So you can try sharing your screen. Yes.
Okay, so Is my screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay.
Your slide.
Okay. Good evening. So uh, today I will be talking about various aspects of cryptography and what makes it secure, particularly when we talk of specific application scenarios, or if we are interested to secure the information for long duration of time, particularly in this changing technological areas. So I'll talk about the following things. First of all, before starting a crypto design, obviously it's very important is for what environment, for what application, what scenario do we require cryptography. So right from the simplest of solutions to the most critical and complicated solutions, we will see where the crypto designers face problems, particularly when there is a very stringent trade-off between security, efficiency, and usability. Next, we will see what are the reasons why cryptographic systems fail and what are the remedial measures. How can these cryptographic systems be strengthened? And under the current scenario, if somebody says, I want information security for the next 50 years, what are the solutions? How can we ensure long-term security? So first of all, why cryptography? As we know, cryptography provides feasible solution for information protection. Now, it's very important to understand that information has to be protected during motion, that is during transmission, at rest when it is being stored somewhere, and also the third dimension is while being processed or while some computation is taking place. And therefore, let us see what are the requirements. The first thing is when the information is being transmitted, the question is, can an empowered adversary extract any information from the public channel? That is the simplest assumption. It is a passive attacker mode. There are more difficult things that can be done here as an active attacker. So whether the cipher that flows over the open channels, can any adversary extract, do some statistics, get some information, try to breach privacy, and try to extract whatever information is possible. Now, that is one important requirement that designers have to keep in mind. Second is whether for any application which is dealing with data, are we keeping the data encrypted during its storage? Transmission is good enough, but hackers are always interested to hack databases where huge amount of data is being stored. The third thing, very important, you have protected confidentiality on the channel. You have encrypted it during storage. Now, what does an application do with the data? It tries to process the data for either any query or for some other information which is to be mined. In this case, the data has to be decrypted before processing. Is it necessary to decrypt this data before processing? Is there a cryptographic mechanism that can help us to handle encrypted data when it is being computed? Because obviously, when it goes to the computational system or goes to any other processing system, there may be a possibility that the hacker is sitting there by injecting Trojan horses or any other mechanism. So let us very briefly see an example of an application, secure online election. You will find that we require all of these three things from the user end to the server. the information needs to be secured while being transmitted. I hope for somebody this information needs to be secured. When this information reaches the server, again it has to be stored and encrypted over a period of time. The third thing, let us assume that after the voting is over, votes have to be counted. How do we count this? By decrypting the data, then there is a possibility of it being hacked or modified. So there is a requirement of processing this data, adding the number of votes while the data is encrypted without getting it decrypted. So we will see certain technologies like homomorphic encryption, which have come to the rescue, and therefore now in the left side we see that while the data is being processed, it can be during computations, during search, or somebody wants to perform machine learning on encrypted data. Today, technology gives ways to handle all these three things by means of homomorphic encryption, by means of privacy preserving technologies, and you can process standard data as well as encrypted data almost by similar means. Similarly, during motion, as we know that cryptography gives us solution to handle by way of confidentiality. So can we resist passive as well as active attacks? The answer is to some extent yes. Most of the active attacks can be resisted. And now my question is, can you resist passive attacks using cryptography? I mean, the attacker is sitting somewhere on the channel and recording it. Is there a way to? Is there a way that cryptography can help? The answer is yes. I leave it to you to think how can this be done. Is there a way so that even the communication is happening? The attacker has no idea. He has no idea of what he is recording, whether the information is there or not. So there are ways, we will discuss it later. Now at rest, the way we store data has drastically changed. Earlier we used to store data on disks. So disk encryption was a solution. As you know from the past history, though this solution was not very simple, we will talk about technologies for disk encryption, which have been developed by very reputed people, and then it got hacked due to some reason. Data can also reside on the memory, and you know that there are many attacks that use this memory, try to extract this information from the memory. And as you know that there are many direct attacks as well as side channel attacks. Now the question is,
Sorry to disturb. There is an audio issue and audio is not clear. So
okay.
you can connect your headphones. We can try.
Okay.
Okay, so am I now audible?
No, voice is very low.
Yeah, hello, hello, hello.
No, voice is low.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so should I continue?
Yeah, now it's better, much better. I think, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. So I was talking about the type of storage uh, that need to be secured. Though it seems that, okay, you encrypt the whole hard disk, you encrypt the memory, you encrypt the cloud, but it's not that easy. Cloud is a distributed storage, and uh, you know that your information once goes to the cloud, you are never sure that where exactly does this information is reside. It is done virtually, and then suppose I want to encrypt my information for a particular set of records. It's difficult to encrypt. What's more difficult is the guarantee that this information cannot be used by other applications, and once deleted, this information should not be accessible to anybody else. So this is the problem. Other storage devices like tapes and secure SSDs, you may be thinking who uses these today, but uh, these are used for a lot of applications, either for archiving or that require very long-term secure storage, for example, in the satellites. So satellites use SSD for application with, or in case of national ID programs. Every country has to store data over a long period of time, and which is secure from all sorts of emissions. So tapes and SSDs are to be used. Now, the question is, how do we secure this data? And for doing this, it's not just simple cryptography. Hardware also requires a root of trust. Again, I will come to that, and cryptography offers some solution to this. Okay, so now let us see who requires cryptography. And as I said, that this will dictate how do we design crypto systems. So any application which requires protection, either by way of confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, non-repudiation, we know the triad, anonymity and availability. All of these require protection, cryptographic protection. We stress too much on confidentiality, and we will see what are the issues if we do not care about the other functionalities. So for any electronic commerce, we need cryptography. As of today, we have a lot of good standards taking care of this. All businesses or organizations that are storing our data, again here there is a problem, though we are using Lepto for this, but every now and then you will find many data breaches. Any public service where the government stores data, again needs to be protected, not only for confidentiality, but for privacy as well. For example, you see here that the COVID tracing app, which people use, if this data is hacked, then there is a problem regarding privacy as well. So quickly, we see some of the applications. Electronic commerce, online banking, good enough. Secure telephony, now video conferencing, VPNs have become more important because people are working at home and using remote logins. Any mobile devices has a lot of personal data, and by means of access control, for example, very good costly smartphones use access control by means of iris or any form of biometric or even a two-factor authentication. So here also cryptography is used by means of protecting your biometric. We know that secure messaging apps use end-to-end encryption, what is called end-to-end encryption, and then other encryption technologies. Now, end-to-end encryption is a technology that people like, but it is not suitable for all applications. So we need to see what sort of cryptography will be used. Now, there are huge networks having sensors and IoTs, smart cities, autonomous vehicles. All of these need cryptography. Electronic voting, I discussed deeply, requires cryptography in many different forms, protecting national critical infrastructure and SCADA networks. Again, cryptography, different type of crypto systems will be required. So we saw some of the similar cases. Now look at this. We want to conduct a remote surgery on the human brain with robots, with robotic controls, and that has to be done over open channels. That has to be done on the internet. So extremely critical application. What do we require here? In terms of communication, availability and quality of service, they are extremely important. In terms of secure communication, access control, confidentiality, privacy, authenticity, integrity, all of these are extremely necessary. If we miss any one of these, the attacker can take control over the system. And if we can manipulate the code, it doesn't require confidentiality of the information that is flowing. He will just do a man in the middle type of thing. He will take control, disrupt the communication, and the entire thing is in jeopardy. Let us come to few other simple applications. For example, we hear the news of people hacking wireless cameras, or people hacking a pacemaker or an insulin pump, or more serious, people hacking nuclear power plants. Now my question is, did they compromise confidentiality? The answer is no. Which cryptographic functionality may have been compromised? So if you have the answer, we will discuss, but then coming to a few cases, you would understand that there are other functionalities in cryptography that require serious attention. For example, the two big hacks, one was the Stuxnet, other was the Flame. These malwares used stolen digital certificates, and they could bypass the entire security software. And what sort of cryptography breach was there? They used forged certificates using collision attacks. Hash function collision was as simple as it was used to bypass the entire security of the system. Coming to few applications that require slightly long-term and very long-term security is legal document signing, contract signing, e-tenders, international tenders taking place online. These legal document signing requires security to the tune of 50 years or more. What sort of cryptography would be used? Today, can anyone assure, particularly in the post-quantum era, any of the legal documents that are being signed today will remain valid? The answer is no, actually. And therefore, what sort of solution do we require today? Medical information systems, telemedicine networks, these require security to the tune of 40 years. There are many countries that have stringent rules. Corporate IPR and trade secrets. Okay. Example, Coke trade secret. How much of time do you want to protect this? Maybe 100 years. International hotlines, the information needs to be protected for many decades. Military satellites or any satellites that have the crypto hardware, that have a crypto algorithm, obviously has to work till the life of these satellites, and it can be anything like 15 years, 20 years. And obviously, any military information system, strategic information needs to be protected for 40, 50 or 100 years. And therefore, what sort of cryptography should be used? We will discuss this. This is one military satellite. Now, for any crypto to be used here, the onboard crypto hardware should survive the lifetime of the satellite, which is minimum of 15 years. So any algorithm we are using here should not get hacked, or the key should be good enough, the algorithm should be strong enough, it can survive for the next 20 years. If it gets breached, we do not have a solution. We can't pull down the satellite. Another issue is due to the harsh radiation environment. Now, these crypto processors need to be fault tolerant. So a special hardware is designed, and the algorithm has to be adapted. Error correction codes and the concept of coding theory has to be used over a simple AES algorithm. And this requires time, this requires effort. And once it is placed on the satellite, then obviously it cannot be removed. So these were some of the applications. As we saw that for a simple application like a police handset, monitoring the traffic, to protection of military information, right from a few hours to 100 years, we need cryptographic solutions, and therefore the design has to be done accordingly. We will see, but before that, in general, why do cryptographic systems fail? There are many reasons. Simplest being design flaws. What we assume and what we give too much of emphasis is there is a flaw in the design. It can be mathematical construction, it can be the logic in which this is designed, algorithm. Other than this, there can be many other reasons. For example, the random number generators, any fault in the random number generators, we will see what that can lead to. Any fault in the crypto libraries, any software or hardware implementation bugs, these are all responsible for failure of crypto systems. Faulty key management, incorrect parameters, or improper error handling. The last one is also extremely important, we will see. So coming to the design flaws, the mathematical flaws, these are not very frequent. And normally today people design good crypto system. The mathematics used is strong. The security analysis which is done is good. And because this field has matured, so hardly there are any faults. But again, if you see this slide, there are some recent flaws in the mathematical design. For example, this one, the square on the top shows that there are flaws in the NLFSR based stream ciphers that are designed for 5G standards. So this is one of the recent things. We also see that there are, despite being submitted to the NIST post-quantum cryptography project and tested by the authors, tested by the community. There are instances when we find that there are ciphertext only attacks against the lattice-based systems, compact and tree systems. And if somebody can attack the system using ciphertext only attacks, then you can imagine it's really weak. So what are the possible reasons? Here, the possible reason may be the expertise. Cryptography design cannot be done by new people. It requires expertise, it requires experience. And since it has to be thought very holistically, the design you are doing has to be safe for the next 20 years, next 50 years. So always it is important to put a team with people having a lot of background. The next reason is the deadline. Now, if somebody is told to design a crypto system in 6 months, then obviously there's a likely chance of errors creeping in. People need time to design crypto systems, time to think about the mathematical primitives. Even if the mathematical primitives are strong, the moment you integrate, you need to think about the security of the overall design. So, in addition to this, there are still many other reasons. For example, incorrect trust assumption or unsuitable operating environment. Now, you might be thinking, what sort of attack is possible using this? I'll come to this in the next slide. We can have a lot of side channel vulnerabilities. Day by day, this technology is increasing. Earlier, it was intrusive, and for a very short distance, you have to provide the recording facilities. Today, this has improved, and with technologies like screaming channel analysis, people are reporting side channel emanations and complete key recovery from a distance of 20 meters, 30 meters, 50 meters. So this is slightly worrying the crypto designers. Certainly, we have seen many instances of backdoors and supply chain infections, some of which are possible to control, some of which, so my only comment here is very stringent testing will help to identify. Human user errors, again this is important, we will see examples, but how a simple human error can lead to breach of the entire crypto system which has been designed extremely well. Last one is threats due to new technologies which have unexpected implications. 10 years back, who expected that a quantum computer can change the way we do cryptography? Okay, so as I was saying that an incorrect trust assumption can lead to complete failure of the crypto system. And here I will present the case of a bit locker. The bit locker, you know that there was an assumption that my secret key is protected in the TPM, proof of trust. But what about the security of proof of trust? And as you can see here, that people have been able to extract the secret key, which is responsible for providing security to the rest of the system. So, such assumptions are to be looked at very carefully, and a lot of testing needs to be done. So, guarantee of very robust implementations is not possible even by experts or even by well-known organizations. In cryptography, it's very important that a team develops, an independent team tests. Whatever I develop, I feel that it is okay, even though I am an expert. and time has proven this thing. A lot of weaknesses have been discovered in many of the very important protocols. You name any protocol and it has gone through this phase. CDMA, GSM, PPTP protocol, TLS has gone many iterations, Wi-Fi and WEP, all these protocols due to some implementation flaws or in the design, in the operations, in the implementation, in the hardware, in the software, whatever possible, one single flaw has led to the breach in these protocols. So as I said, that stringent security testing by either accredited agencies or by public scrutiny, any of these things should be done. And okay, so as we see the complete design scenario, it is easy to understand that cracking a crypto system with a very strong mathematical primitive, with a very strong design principle is difficult. An easier exploit can be done on the implementation. And it is possible to build a very weak crypto system or application using all the strong mathematics, all the strong RNGs, all the strong protocols and hardware. And as we see here, that this is a particular case of the Heartbleed, which proves this point. Some of the real-world attacks here we see, whether it be Heartbleed or Beast or Breach, Crime, Drown, Logjam, Hodl, Free. All these attacks were due to some sort of either improper design of the protocol or implementation problem, and people could really extract information. Now let us see one of the example, one of the recent attacks, which is called the Brook attack. This was a vulnerability in the Wi-Fi chip, and how it was breached. It caused devices to use all zero encryption key. As simple as that. What was the implication? It affected over 1 billion Wi-Fi devices and access points. Such is the impact of a simple implementation or operation weakness. And similarly, we know about the ladder leak attack, which is a bias in the norms, a not very proper implemented random number generation process in the entire system. Though we know that elliptic curves are very good, they provide higher security at the same bit level, but if there is a bias in the norms, it can be used to recover the full keys. So the security is breached. Now, while seeing all these type of attacks on crypto systems or cryptographic protocols, the question is, how can cryptographic systems be strengthened? We will talk about 3 possible directions or pillars. First is using a suitable crypto primitive. To start with the mathematics of crypto design, we need to identify what is the environment, what is the application scenario, what sort of security is required, and then starting with a crypto primitive that suffices to provide the security for that particular duration of time. So by formal notation, any cryptographic primitive should be strong. It can have many functionalities. And as an example, we see here a simple case of a symmetric key encryption. It has 3 primitives, what we say key generation, encryption, and decryption. Any design flaw in any of these primitives, either design or implementation, can lead to breach of the system. Normally, such systems have two conditions, the correctness condition. Why this is important? Because though this is simple, but now it has become important in the post-quantum era, particularly in the code-based crypto system, where you should be able to, using the assumptions, you should be able to get back the correct message. Then the secrecy condition. It is important that the encryption of message 0 and the encryption of message M1, they are indistinguishable. This indistinguishability forms an important criteria for assessing the strength of crypto systems, and you will see that. Now the question is, if this is enabled, then we have secrecy. Now the question is, for any application that requires long-term secrecy or secrecy which cannot be compromised, how do we achieve perfect secrecy? As we know, perfect secrecy is the strongest security notion in cryptography, also known as the information theoretic security. Every designer strives to achieve this secrecy level, but practically it is not possible. And though there are some ways of doing this, it is very important for if the value of information is very high or if protection is required for a long time. Now, what does this ensure? It ensures that even if the adversary has any computational resources, any sort of computational resources, whether digital, whether quantum, whether computational, whether memory, whether time, he won't be able to get an advantage about the plain text and the key. So one of the examples of a perfectly secure crypto system is the one-time pad. And my question is, does the one-time pad leak any information? It is supposed to be information theoretic in terms of security, perfect security. The key length is as long as the message, and that is why it has an issue in the practical side. But still, assuming that I am able to provide this level of security, is there any way that the adversary can get any information from the channel? Maybe yes. So, what are the things that can get leaked? Very simple, the existence of a message. A message is being transmitted. This existence is leaked. Now, the adversary is sitting and therefore he will gather this information for a passive attack. Another information that can be leaked is the message length, which is an important part of metadata, which can be used, which is used for cryptanalysis purpose. Now, the third thing is the encrypted messages are malleable. What does this mean? This message can be altered by an empowered attacker. Empowered means an active attacker who is sitting on the channel. What is the advantage he gets here? Now you see, if this message is modified, then the sender will obviously, he has to retransmit this message again because the receiver has not been able to get it correctly. The moment we do this, the attacker gets an advantage. Retransmission of the same message, here is a case where M plus R1. R1 is the random sequence that comes from the OTP or the code book. Next transmission, M plus R2. Okay. Is there any advantage of this? I put a question to the audience. Obviously, this is a case in which you can think of cryptanalysis strategy. Next is if there is a guarantee of that the key will not be reused till the time this scheme is perfectly secure. The moment the key is reused, then same message on different keys or two messages on the same key can be used. And certainly generation of random key. How random is the key itself is a question. Where does this key come from? Does it come from a TRNG, a true random number generator? Can the TRNG be compromised? The parameter of the TRNG can be compromised. And obviously, if you have generated the random key, how do you store it is another matter of concern. So this places a lot of practical issues, and therefore it is used only if very necessary. So we see that a cryptographic scheme cannot have perfect secrecy if the key is shorter than the message. Any case, if the key is shorter than the message, if we use any form of PRNGs, then we cannot get perfect secrecy because there is a chance of it succumbing to computational attacks. And the next thing is, for many applications, perfect secrecy is not at all required at the cost of efficiency or usability. So what is the next best solution? If you require something like perfect secrecy for applications, as I said, that require very variable or long term, 50 years, 100 years from now. So what is the next best solution? People have suggested something like this. So now I can design a system with a smaller key using a TRNG, a true random number generator, publicly accessible source of randomness. This source should be available to the sender, to the receiver, to everybody. There are many sources that are available. So what does it do? The system uses a random number generator that using a key, it selects the location of bits, which consists of k rows of length, and we arrange those bits into this form and then add these rows bitwise mod 2. Very simple crypto system. Somebody has designed this, and the logic of the stream cipher is used for encryption and decryption. The place, the sequence from where the bits will be picked up is decided by the key, and not only by the simple key, but by the array, and n arrays will be XORed, and then it can generate the cipher. Now, looks fairly simple, maybe much more practical than the earlier one, but then is this scheme practical? Okay, not as practical as the PRNG type of schemes, but more practical than the other earlier system. Can this scheme be cracked? So, a very good question to the research community. If we understand this scheme, is it possible to crack under any assumption? The scheme seems to be fairly strong, but maybe if we delve deeper, then there can be ways of cracking. So next is using a suitable computational security model. What are we talking about here? The earlier two type of cryptographic schemes, we found that these are not suitable for many applications. Can we use this for our mobile phone communication? Can we use this for banking application? The answer is no. Such schemes become difficult. So what is the solution? We go with computational security. It's a weaker notion. We know that these schemes will not be as strong as the earlier ones, and it is based on what is called ciphertext indistinguishability (IND). So we know systems which do not have IND, which have CPA, which have end CCA2, the adaptive one, which promises no information gain under certain circumstances. So this concept is used to evaluate the security of non-perfect secure ciphers under different scenarios. And the moment we say non-perfect, all the crypto systems that we use today are non-perfect. And this gives a chance to the attacker to either compromise the design or force the users to use a faulty mode so that he can use a downgrade attack. There are many cases, and therefore compromise the system. So the strength of such systems are expressed in terms of computational complexity. For example, complexity of the best known attacks which are presently there for breaking the system. Example, AES. We assume today that AES has a 128-bit security. K553 is an example I wish to quote because though it is a strong cipher, but attacks that use the time memory trade-off. So if we have sufficient amount of memory, we can do some pre-computation and therefore reduce the complexity of the attack. So as long as a cipher is well designed and implemented, a good cipher, when do we call a cipher as a good cipher? A cipher for which the adversary has to try all the keys to break the encryption. There is no shortcut other than the exhaustive trial. So, an attack with complexity less than that of an exhaustive trial is considered to be a break, a theoretical break. Anybody who can crack AES with 120 bits is a break. But what is practical cryptanalysis? There are many reasons why practical cryptanalysis is required to recover the message, either the message or the key, using limited resources. What are these resources? Either the computational power or the amount of data that is available, or the memory, time, any additional information, or any other practical assumption. All of these things are used for cryptanalysis. And as an example, DES, initially this was designed with the computational power in mind. Then people could develop hardware and ways of cracking this system because the key size is too less. Similarly, practical cryptanalysis of MD5, people could crack or find collisions in this system in a laptop machine within a second. So this is practical cryptanalysis. Now there are some other ways, for example, AES. So though you can't crack AES mathematically, but then people could use side channel attacks based on power or EM or timing or what is called the old book attack. People could recover the keys. And earlier, as I said, that protecting the memory of the crypto system is also very important. Here is an example in which, though your scheme is very strong, but using a old book attack, people could recover the keys. So, how do we assess the computational security? Is there a way in which you can find out how secure is your design computationally? So, in the asymmetric side, the security is mapped to a known hard problem. But there is a problem in the symmetric cryptography side. We do not encounter this type of mapping. So in the asymmetric side, simple example, RSA based on integer factorization problem, and therefore the security of RSA depends upon the security of factorization problem, and RSA can be broken if the factorization problem is broken. So there are a large number of mathematical trapdoors which are used for computational security. It can be from the conventional side, factorization, discrete log, and so on. It can be from the post-quantum side, lattice, shortest vector, closest vector, code, multivariate. All these will lead to some trapdoor functions that are computationally secure. So, as an example of the trapdoor, so in the case of RSA, we know that simple mathematics n is equal to p into q, 2 primes, and what is the typical solution if we do not have the trapdoor value? Then we try dividing by primes until the answer is found. However, if one of the value that leads to the trapdoor is known, one can easily find the answer. Now, as you know that systems can, like RSA, this is very simple. The forward direction is easy. The reverse direction is hard. The reverse direction is easy with the trapdoor. Why I'm talking about this is the reverse direction is also easy with the backdoor. So trapdoor is different, backdoor is different, and those who are interested, they can see the literature that there are many ways in which computational systems based on computational security can be backdoored. So the algorithm itself can be managed in such a way that we can introduce backdoor. Detecting backdoor is extremely difficult. So then there should be many ways of testing this system. Now the question is RSA semantically secure? Talking about the standard RSA, the most problematic thing is it is deterministic. So if I encrypt a 0 or a block of zeros, RSA will give a fixed answer. If I encrypt the block of ones, it will give a different answer. So I am able to distinguish the cipher from the 0 plain text as well as the cipher from a 1 plain text. What is the solution? Make it probabilistic. But probabilistic has its own costs. It will reduce the efficiency. So you have to decide as a designer whether the deterministic crypto system is okay, or in order to manage the indistinguishability part, you have to make it probabilistic. This system is also malleable. It is prone to cycle attacks. You know something about low exponent attacks. There are a lot of side channel attacks as well as factorization attacks. So if we see the type of attacks here, how would people attack such systems? This is a mathematical attack. This is an implementation attack. Again, this is an attack because the parameters have not been properly used. This is a mathematical attack. This is a protocol attack, and this is the design attack. There are various ways in which the cryptographer has to think. It is not only the simple RSA algorithm based on factorization. Now, when I talk of asymmetric cipher, there are two aspects. It is secure under the digital computing paradigm, whereas it is polynomial time with a quantum computer. We know that all. As of today, what is the bit security of RSA? Do I mean that RSA 1024 is 1024 bit security? No. The answer is no. RSA 1024 has a security of something like 73 bits. Today, if we want to design something, we need to go to at least 128 bits. Let us see the symmetric side. A symmetric cipher, which uses a 256-bit key, does not provide perfect secrecy. In what case, if the message length is more than 256 bits, then it does not provide perfect secrecy. Nor reduction of any symmetric cipher to a well-known hardness assumption is not available. So my question is, why do you consider AES to be secure? What guarantees AES to be secure? A crypto system that is used in almost all protocols, standard protocols and applications, and we trust this design. As a cryptographer, can you answer why is AES secure? So you will see that there are some gaps in the logic. Security assumptions of AES, they are based on three things. One is pseudo-random permutation. So is the pseudo-random permutation generation part fully secure? Key expansion with multiple round keys. So AES is 10, 12, 14 rounds, and by conducting differential cryptanalysis, we find that beyond a certain round, this cipher is secure. But that does not guarantee the security for different types of attacks. Third is, it uses a highly nonlinear S box. What is the logic of using this S box? It is highly nonlinear. Is this S box fixed? Do you have enough reason to understand why this S box is there? Answer is no. Does this S box have a backdoor? Can't say. So, but still, it has been secure, well-tested, time-tested algorithm, 20-25 years. The question is whether AES 128 secure, is it secure today? Has anybody built a hardware to decrypt or to cryptanalyze this? In literature, there are no major attacks, and therefore we assume that at least AES is 120-bit secure. Now somebody builds a hardware on this, cracking 120-bit cipher by hardware is not possible today as of the hardware technology. But then, are there any security proofs or are there any attacks that can reduce the bit level? We really do not know. So if this is the case, then do we have any other algorithms ready? What happens if tomorrow there is an attack, somebody reports an attack on AES? We will be in trouble. For the asymmetric side, we already have a clue that this has to be improved within 5 years, for which the post-quantum cryptography has developed. For symmetric side, we say that, okay, simple, double the key size. What does this mean? If your design has become insecure, how does it matter if you increase the key? Do we have any algorithm of this level of security, 128-bit or 256-bit, ready in our store? So again, symmetric cryptography designs are in demand. They are required here. For many of the future applications like 5G or 6G applications or the IoT lightweight applications, 128-bit block ciphers, 128-bit stream ciphers are required. Even people use 80 bits. 64-bit is not recommended, but 80-bit is used, and there is a possibility of attack. But then the information, the value of information is not that critical. Okay, so after some time, if it gets attacked, no problem. So we were talking about the bit security. Bit security is the method of quantifying the security provided by crypto primitive. Bit security does not guarantee the actual practical security. Even if 128-bit key is used, there is no guarantee that it will provide 128-bit security unless the algorithm is extremely strong and resistant to all known attacks. Now, as you can see, AES 128 is believed to have 128-bit security. Why is it believed to have? We believe that there is no attack on this scheme, but what is the guarantee? If I find a solution for reducing the key and do not publish, then there is a problem, and therefore all publicly known algorithms, though these are scrutinized by the public, by the experts around the world, there is a problem here that if somebody discovers an attack and keeps to himself, then there is a problem. However, with the current information, AES 128 seems to be secure for the next 2 decades. However, with the growth of hardware technology, with the growth of high performance computing, we need to maintain security margins. And therefore, 256-bit security key for AES is recommended. That's what you find in most of the important protocols. As I was talking, so for asymmetric cryptography, the key length does not map to the same bits. As an example, RSA 1024, as I told, it has 73 bits of security. ECC 256 can afford 128-bit security. Good enough. So what we require today is 256 bits of security. What are the crypto algorithms that provide? So it can be achieved by SHA-512, HMAC, SHA-512, AES 256 with GCM mode. And we also know that the mode of operation is very important. Then these elliptic curves, which are secure. As of today, the design requires 192-bit post-quantum security. Today, people are not exactly talking about 128-bit security for the digital era or 256-bit security. Looking at the pace in which quantum technologies are progressing, it's better to design systems that have at least 192-bit post-quantum security, so that even if something unexpected happens, we will be safe. So now I think I'll come to some of the we saw some constraints in the crypto design, in the mathematical part, in the implementation part, in the operations part. And looking at all of these things, post-quantum security, how can long-term security be ensured? As we discussed, for national and military information, or for sensitive medical data, or for digital signature for contracts. 40 to 100 years of protection is required. Do we have a digital signature scheme today that can assure 40 years of protection? More simple question, do we have a digital signature that can offer 10 years protection? And those who are working in this area, you will agree that the answer is no. So the next thing is security of currently used crypto system rely on probable statements and not on unconditional proofs. So today there is a quantum computer. Tomorrow any other physical phenomena or any other biological phenomena can be used, and then all of a sudden possibly all the security might collapse. All computational models that we use today, they do not protect the user from the past. That means store today, decrypt later. Whatever you have stored earlier using 512-bit RSA or using DES can be decrypted now using powerful hardware. So carefully designed crypto primitives, they have expected lifetime of 5 to 20 years, as we see in the case of AES. This is likely to reduce in the future due to rapid and unexpected changes in technology. And so maybe we should not expect the crypto system to remain strong for 20 years. Whatever, symmetric, asymmetric, whatever you design, the best designs, we should keep a limit for 10 years or 15 years. As we saw, as we have seen, digitally signed data may not remain trustworthy in the future, as the chain can be broken by changing a signature. And with in the post-quantum era, all these chains can be broken. If we have such computers, what is the implication? Very simple. The entire networks can be hacked. A hacker can break a Windows Update software and send a fake update. Sometimes it is happening today also, but after a few years, this can be easily done if the crypto systems are not resistant. I can break into a Windows system, send fake updates, and inject malware, inject Trojan, and compromise the network. So, obviously, as I said, pool of alternative crypto algorithms should be readily available, both symmetric as well as asymmetric or post-quantum, and the crypto algorithms or crypto systems or crypto protocols, these have to be designed modular so that the moment an insecure design is detected, insecure primitive is detected, it can be immediately replaced. Saying this is easy, but replacing a protocol, may require something between 5 years to 10 years. It's difficult, and therefore we need to be very careful. So, okay. Now this is the last part of my talk for researchers in cryptography. Looking at the issues in cryptography and the future requirements, what are the things, what are our area of interest, what new things can be done? The first is more of buzzword, the quantum resistant cryptography, new mathematical constructions and primitives, not the simple finite field or commutative group things, and more R&D and standardization efforts are required, though you know the NIST is already conducting, but many other countries are also in parallel conducting standardization. Symmetric cryptography, symmetric key cryptography with higher post-quantum security. So 192 bits of post-quantum security just by increasing the key size is not the solution. You can try for any symmetric, non-symmetric block cipher. If you increase the key size without deeply thinking, you won't get that diffusion. You won't get that. If you fix the number of rounds, you won't get that randomness. So it makes sense to think again about how symmetric key crypto can be. Then quantum cryptography, it is a promising technology. Here at least it gives uninterrupted key transmission, foolproof due to the physical phenomena. It has its hiccups and it requires a direct optical link with each communicating entity. And therefore, if you expect a link from your mobile phone to the application server, this may not be possible. But then between two links, you can be sure that the message, the key is not tampered. Coming to neural cryptography, as we have seen that cryptography algorithms designed by people, if the algorithm is known, it gets leaked. If people design the algorithm, it might have some issues in the design. So the area of neural cryptography is new. Many people do not endorse, but that should not be the reason for rejecting it. We have seen new cryptography models based on deep learning adversarial models, GAN, and though it presently lacks confidence and needs more R&D efforts, but it is worth a try. You will get crypto design that is not being controlled by humans. It may have their own disadvantages. Next is homomorphic encryption, obviously a new, very interesting technology. It enables privacy, it enables encrypted data search, it improves the security, it avoids hacking on the servers. However, it is practically very slow and large key size. The benefit is most of these are based on lattices and therefore post-quantum. For homomorphic encryption, there is a gradual acceptance, and if you see the news, then you will find that there are some banks which are now starting to use homomorphic encryption for preserving their financial data, for securing their financial data. And therefore, these banks can also do computations on the data, find out unusual transactions, and then without exposing the records, without exposing the privacy of the user. Secret sharing and multi-party computation is an important area. Many people are working on that because there are requirements. Now, another new area called honey encryption. If you can compromise the key, you can decrypt the data. If the key is wrong, how would you? It's very easy to understand that by using a wrong key, I will get garbage. However, this technology ensures that even while you decrypt with a wrong key, you will get real data. Something like deep fakes. So you will never be able to understand whether you have used the correct key or a wrong key. Particularly, I am talking about the attack. This can be used to secure databases and reduce the threat surface. Other areas which need attention is end-to-end encryption. Though people have been talking about this is supposed to be very secure, provide secrecy. But then it is again prone to all those standard attacks that I talked about. Implementation, protocol, everything. Perfect forward security is a welcome move. It ensures that your data, even if it is compromised, only a very minor part can be known to the attacker. functional encryption, identity-based encryption, location-based cryptography, another new area. Why should an attacker sitting in one part of the globe be able to decrypt your data, which is with the server placed here? Many applications do not require that, and therefore now a set of cryptography applications are designed with location in mind, the key as a component of the location, and therefore, if you are not in that particular location, permitted location, you cannot decrypt, even if you somehow manage to get the key. And above all, advanced and automated security testing, an accredited agency should be there with all the expertise, with all the skills, with all the infrastructure. Very important. You need to have automated machines. You need to have others to test sophisticated crypto systems. And these are some of the areas in which researchers are working, and you can think of working. And finally, we see that designing a reliable security product is difficult because it needs to defend against every possible attack, even those attacks which are not discovered. And for long-term security, you need to protect for long term. And the advantage that an attacker gets is it needs to find only one flaw, one implementation flaw, one operational flaw, as we saw that the attacker has forced the algorithm to encrypt with all 0 keys. So this is the simplest thing, but then this is an attack. And the attackers can conspire or root or wait for technology to mature, and then after which they can attack. So obviously, the crypto design as done in most of the countries, it is reviewed from time to time. The key length is reviewed from time to time. All the known attacks are taken care. If we are for all the standard applications, standard-based algorithms and protocols are used. For all the applications, sensitive applications with national data, algorithms that are non-standard, these are used, and there can be a long debate which is better, but obviously standard algorithms, time-tested algorithms are better, but using proprietary crypto systems is a universal practice, and all the nations are doing that for their classified data. So at the end, my final remarks are, we have seen different pillars that give strength to the cryptographic design. It is not only the mathematical primitive or the theoretical strength of the crypto system. Many things we discussed, and we have seen with examples each of these issues, if not handled properly, can reach the entire system. So we need to have different groups focusing on different aspects. Obviously, we do not expect that a person who is working in the hardware security side channel attacks will do mathematical cryptography, and therefore all these groups need to be there. Domain expertise is very important, as I said. Best practices should be followed. Obviously, if there is an attack tomorrow, new discovered attack tomorrow, nobody can do anything. For smaller codes and smaller designs, formal methods are there, but not for big systems. Stringent security testing are very important for development of foolproof and long-term cryptographic security. So with this, I thank you and would be happy to take questions.
So it's extremely informative, Dr. Pal, and a lot of things were new. and audience also, I think they must be listening quietly. And normally I get a lot of questions, but yes, there are a couple of questions, but it's really very, very informative. And you have the questions were coming in my mind when you were talking, but I was getting answer in the next slide. So it is always like solving the problems when it is occur. So there are a couple
Yeah,
of
so
questions. I'll take.
I wish that this section would have been more interactive in the sense physical interactive, but now but anyway, this is also
Yes, yes. So definitely we will arrange physical sessions as no, we may start our office. So it will be very great. So if you can come and address the audience physically, but it's really indeed a very informative session, and you have covered a lot of new things, and it's like I was getting thoughts like what you're saying is correct. I mean. Uh, we don't know whether the algorithm is secure today will be secure tomorrow, and also I also agree on you, like there are a couple of people, those who have already attacked on AES or some of the commonly used algorithms, and they might have not disclosed that this system has been broken. So it's really, really very, sometimes it's very scary also because
yes.
yeah. And there are trapdoors, what people say in by NSA, and like NIST, they have trapdoors and they are not disclosing. It might be correct. So yes, what you points you have covered is correct, and even about the AES, what you talk is absolutely right. I mean, we don't know if quantum can break AES next minute. People are trying to break AES, and we don't know. We have to be ready with the algorithms, and we should keep the algorithms ready to secure our system. So everything, every point you have put up is wonderful and really very informative. So there are a couple of questions. I'll take one or two if you have
Yeah, certainly.
spare some time. So there's one question like when we are talking about developing an cryptographic algorithm, of course, it is not like somebody can make it in 6 months. It takes years to build an algorithm and verify strength. So when we are doing this, how can we achieve the perfect secrecy? I mean, that is one way we can say that our algorithm is strong. So what you will say on this?
Yeah, so the answer is simple. If we want to achieve the perfect secrecy, then we need to have a source of randomness, which is a true source or which is a quantum source. As of today, the length of the key should be as long as the message. Now, many applications require this. It's not that who uses perfect secret crypto systems. There are many applications that require this. Now, despite the theory of perfect secrecy, its implementation is again very important. Uh, the theory is very simple. Find out a random source, non-repeating keys as long as the message, encrypt it using simple XOR. This gives you a perfect secret system in the design. Now, the moment you go to its implementation or the operational aspect, as I said, the attacker is smart. The attacker is sitting to disrupt your communication. Perfect secure systems, they are malleable, and this gives an opportunity to the attacker to disrupt. Once it disrupts, then you have to be very careful of not transmitting it again on the same channel or on a channel that the attacker knows. Uh, Transmitting it again is as simple as message plus key 1, message plus key 2. So that gives some advantage to the attacker.
So there's one more question. Which type of digital signature and cryptography algorithms are the security protocol used in Indian military application? I mean, I don't think so you'll able to answer this question because it's a secret. And
Yeah, so I mean, people are using standard protocols, so it's open, it's available, particularly in the European region or in because of the need for high-speed financial transactions, obviously, in front of a for your transaction to get completed, and therefore elliptic cryptography gives an edge. Though standard keys, the standard digital signature algorithms using RSA are being used here. In certain parts of the world, people use elliptic based ECDSA.
So there is one question: did we need all quantum knowledge for making PQC?
Not at all. So the PQC is a completely mathematical concept, mathematical primitives based on areas like lattice theory or multivariate quadratic algebra, and these are areas of actually algebra and matrix theory, linear algebra, all these areas. The only thing we should be concerned about is while finding a hard problem using this, for example, the shortest vector problem, can a quantum computer solve this using the concept of superposition or entanglement? So this much knowledge, obviously not expected that the mathematics person should be well acquainted with the quantum phenomena, but the algorithm has to be quantum resistant. You can very easily find out. Now, quantum resistant is again a tricky thing. Quantum resistance means that today you don't have an algorithm. It does not guarantee that tomorrow you won't have that algorithm. So,
Correct. Yeah, absolutely right. So we don't have a guarantee, and the way world is progressing and the technology is developing, I recently come across one beautiful video which is on brain implant and neuro implant, and people are working on that, and AI applications and running on that. So how there also we need security, because once it is getting handled by machines or the computers, then it will be difficult. So how small cryptography can we create, because that is another challenging area, and people are working in lightweight cryptography to solve that challenge. But can we reach the micro level and and give the security to such devices is again another challenge. So this is ocean of so many things, and it's a beautiful field, I always feel. So thank you, Dr. Pal, for your time, and for a very informative and beautiful discussion on strengthening the pillars of cryptography for safer digital world. I must say my audience must have happy with this discussion. Thank you so much, audience, for interesting question, and appreciate your constant support to the Crypto Innovation Series. We will come up with more interesting session in CIS. So stay tuned for the next exciting part of the Crypto Innovation Series. Until next time, stay safe, stay secure. This is Shravani signing off. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pal.